The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has announced plans to embark on daily peaceful protest and picketing of the Federal Ministry of Health, Office of the Head of Service, Civil Service of the Federation, as well as all federal and state tertiary health institutions nationwide. The National Executive Council, NEC, says the mass action will take effect from Wednesday, 9th of August 2023 at 10 a.m. The statement says it has been largely neglected by the parent ministry and the federal government. The statement says the body is pained that rather than make genuine and concerted efforts to resolve the challenges that led to the industrial action despite repeated ultimatums, the parent ministry and the federal government have chosen to demonize Nigerian resident doctors instead, after all their sacrifices and patriotism. Joining us to look at this issue is Dr. Nnamdi Ezuma, who is the first Vice President, Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors. Dr. Ezuma, thank you for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
You know, there's this sentiment that we all have. Well, let me speak for myself that I have. Each time I have to speak with doctors on issues that concern them, because doctors are working for us all. So what makes you feel that you're being left out?
Well, thank you once again for having us. You see, these are problems that have existed even before now. You know, we have done everything possible. We've tried to discuss with the government. We've even signed memorandum of understanding. We've given timelines as to when actions are expected to be taken. And up until now, none of this have been done. So when that question comes up, we feel that there is a crisis in the health sector, and we are crying out. We are speaking out, because if you don't speak, that's where you have a problem. We are crying out to the government that there's a crisis in the health sector, and that's why we're here.
So there's a crisis in the health sector. In plain terms, reel out your demands in plain terms, once again.
Okay, so we have been complaining about the brain drain, the issue of brain drain, and the massive depletion of clinical staff in the hospital. And one of our demands is for the replacement of this clinical staff. We have members who are being overworked. We have our so you have people complaining about surgeries being cancelled. You have the waiting time of patients in the hospital extended. You know, so these are problems that have come as a result of the shortage in manpower. And one of our basic demands is for the replacement, what we call a one-on-one replacement. This is based on an agreement that had been done with the government as far back as February. And up until now, to release this circular. This is not money, we're talking about policy issues. To release this circular so that the CMDs, this empowers the CMDs to be able to, you know, take in new staff. You know, and what we're asking for is because you can't stop migration. So if a clinical staff leaves the hospital, the process of trying to recruit a new staff, you know, it takes 8, 9, 11 months. Yes, good. So we're now looking for a shorter way to try to make sure that once the clinical staff leaves the system, he can be quickly replaced. So it's already budgeted for. It's not as if you are looking for funds to pay the wages of this staff. It's just to replace, so that that depletion that is already taking place in the health sector would not show its face. You know, we have people that are going into depression. We have weekly messages of our members dying because of being overworked. And we're not talking about the medical residency training fund. We're talking about funds that were budgeted for the exams. And still, this is August. So it was supposed to be paid in the first quarter of the year. And it hasn't been attended to. We have had engagements with the government and giving timelines from when this should be done. But up until now, this hasn't been addressed. We have even embarked on a warning strike far back in May, and then memorandum of understanding was signed, and a timeline was given for 5th of June for this to be addressed. Until now, none of this has been done. So you see that these issues are issues that we feel that they are not out of the reach of the government. These are things that can actually be done immediately to bring back this health sector, because You're looking at the World Health ratio that says it's 1 doctor to about 600 people. And we're talking about 1 doctor to 10,000 people in Nigeria. And how do you expect people to survive? How do you expect doctors to survive? They can't carry that for too long. And that is why we're crying out. And that is why we're making these demands for these things to be, because there is actually an emergency in the health sector.
Okay. After protest, how long are you going to have the protest for?
Now, the idea is for us to get the attention of the government, whatever it takes for us to get the attention of the government to address these issues.
What if after 2 weeks of protesting, you still don't get the attention of the government?
You see,
are you going to carry on?
Now, the thing is, we had our National Executive Council meeting yesterday, and we have marshaled out plans on how to escalate whatever the issues are. You know, so we have, members are resolute. Members are crying out. We are saying that the country, that the health sector is going down. So
when are you going to escalate it? After protesting for how many days will you escalate?
We have started the strike. We are hoping that between now, in fact, the protest was supposed to start tomorrow, on Monday. But members decided to give some, leeway for the government between now and Wednesday, so that if anything can happen, we can at least call back for our next meeting and take a decision. So if the government doesn't still respond, there are other modalities that we can also rely on, also to still press home our demands. All this is just in the bid to make sure that the government, answers to what we are complaining on.
Dr. Nnamdi Ezuma, I can only wish you all the best and your association in your pursuit of this course, since you're fighting for us all. We can only wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
You are the first Vice President of Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Newsnight.